Welcome. Wow, I was a little bit surprised there, even though I got counted in. Welcome to the Nordic Championship. I'm Scoundrel. I'm joined by Orcs. We're going to be jumping into our second day here. Plenty of surprise yesterday. My most impressive victory was definitely Nordic beating Singularity in what was super dominant. Aesthetic just treating that game like a solo queue game, went at it on Kindred, got it so not only lucky, but really utilized the stacks that he had available to him and just popped off.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is it's not just aesthetic. I think Advian was a huge factor as well. That skirmish in the bot side river. And I think something I always love to see is jungle support working well in tandem with each other. They found the advantage in that skirmish. That was enough for the Kindred to snowball. And it felt like Singularity just fell apart. And Krogson, he stepped up massively, but it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, it was basically Krogson versus the world in that game, but it was also Aesthetic just doing a huge amount. I actually tweeted Aesthetic after the game and said, mate, they've got families. And he's like, when I play Kindred, I just do not care. Yeah. And he just went out. He was really good. And what I'm really excited to see with Nordic is this their comeback story? Is this Nordic now making a run for those playoff spots? Because remember, you've got to be top 4 in the Nordic Championships to qualify. They've still got a bit of work to do to get there.
Well, I think they're 2 points away from sort of matching with Hillerød and Dusty. They were already on and up with a sort of momentum trajectory, but I feel like they still need to sort of consistently prove this. Them beating Singularity is a big statement. It definitely puts them in the right direction, and it may come to the point, end of the split, where having that extra win in your pocket can actually turn the tides of the situation. But ultimately, they've just, it's consistency. That's what we need.
Let's have a quickly look at the schedule that we've got today. We can see which teams are coming up. We've got Dusty versus Hillerød, which will be one of my games of the day, just because of the sort of the placements of it. Hillerød obviously just stopped in their tracks by Vipers yesterday, and Dusty tied with them at 3rd and 4th right now, so they've got the same win record, but I think Hillerød have the head-to-head right now, which is why they're just above. Singularity versus Atlando, Nordivind versus Hybrid, which would be another good one to see how long Nordivind can keep this streak going, and then we've got Vipers versus Bifrost. Can Bifrost do it again? Can Bifrost knock one of the top 2 teams down? That's something that we're going to look forward to towards the end of the day. We can have a look at the points as well, so we can see exactly where we are in the table. You'll see here Singularity and Vipers joint at the top. The head-to-head goes to Singularity right now, which is why they have that top position. Hillerød and Dusty on at 5 and 4. Bifrost at 4 and 5 at 5th, and then we've got 6th and 7th with Nordic and Hybrid, and then Atlando down at the bottom at 2 and 7. Still, as Dan said, there is a lot of movement that can happen over the next few weeks. Still, everything to play for to look for one of those top 4 spots in the Nordic League.
Yeah, and I think, so at this point we have 5 games left, including today, for each team. So if you obviously have 5 wins in a row, Atlando can get a maximum of 7 wins, which would tie them with the current leaders. But obviously, with everyone else picking up games as well, at the point they're at now, it's a little bit precarious. If they drop a game today, it's going to get to the point where it's either relying on other people to sort of lose games to sort of get you to that point where you can even contest playoffs, or it's going to rely, or it just may end up being impossible. So I think today you need to be winning. If you want to make a shot at playoffs and you're in the bottom 4, you need wins today.
Yeah, this is where you've got to start. And again, some of our teams have already done so. Now we're going to be diving in to that first game of the day, Dusty versus Hillerød. Probably the closest in terms of what it means for the table as well. It is both of them at 5 and 4. The winner will leapfrog into that 3rd position. They can't go any higher than that, but they will take that 3rd position if they win today for sure. Hillerød can either confirm it, or Dusty can make that leapfrog and take it over Hillerød. So it's a really, really big game in terms of just securing a good scoreline going into the final weeks, and puts you in a comfortable position to defend that spot for playoffs.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is that not only are you getting that point yourself, but you're also knocking down your closest opposition. Both these teams should be strong contenders to make playoffs, but they aren't as comfortable as Singularity or Vipers are. And with a lot of teams on their tail, especially with Nordic suddenly looking so good, with Hybrid getting a win after a bit of a rough patch, you really need to lock this one down.
Well, yeah, teams are in the lobby. We are ready to jump into draft as soon as possible. They look like they're ready to go. So we have this first draft coming your way. And I think I want to just probe your thoughts on Dusty versus Hillerød. What do you think about this matchup? Who do you think holds the edge?
So for me, I feel like Dusty showed a lot of promise in their game yesterday. I think particularly that bot lane was absolutely popping off. They picked the Ziggs Thresh, and by all means, they just needed to neutralize the enemy lane. They didn't. They crushed it. I think Joachim and Legions looked strong. Quinston's not too much of an impactful game. I think up against Hillerød, though, my concern is sometimes Dusty picks these compositions that are a little bit harder to execute, which they do well, But if Hillerød go for sort of a pretty play yourself, front-to-back teamfight composition, which has avenues to deal with the side lane threats, then Sloth and Mokox have shown they can pop off.
So I want to let you know that there was supposed to be a substitute top coming in for Hillerød today. Unfortunately, they had a blackout, which meant that they couldn't actually make it. So Styley is coming in once more. Just to give you some context on Styley, we were made aware of kind of this guy yesterday after we sort of saw him play. He's actually an ex-Rank 1 Challenger jungle main, has been spamming top recently in solo queue. So it's not like it was just bringing in the coach. It's not like bringing in Ferndog for an XL game. This is like full on. Sorry, I'm just making a meme.
No one's going to get that reference.
No one's going to get that reference. Styley is obviously a big sort of a really, really good player. So he's very well adapted to jump.
And has been practicing top recently is the big thing to know. Has been playing a lot of it. So it's not a complete downgrade. Obviously, it would be better if Hillerød could go with their starting top laner or their sub that they had planned for today, but they're still going to look to try and take this one. Now, we have had the bans fly through. Talia, Zach, and Ornn on the side of Dusty, so pretty heavily targeted, I'd say, with the first two. Ornn more sort of general with the power. And then on Hillerød, again, targeted bans with the Yorick and the Ziggs and the Syndra, something Dusty heavily prioritized as a first pick. And what's interesting here is we've seen no AD carries banned at all here. There's no Senna touch, no Aphelios, no Misfortune. Those are still on the cards. And that means Hillerød potentially could get their pick of the bunch because Dusty have prioritized this Gragas, which has been a pretty solid pick, drawing some first-round bans occasionally. Yeah, obviously, very versatile in what he can do.
Jobu played it to great effect, although didn't manage to secure the win. Still had a really, really good performance versus Dusty yesterday. It's going to be the Shen locked in for Styley, we can assume. Obviously, can be flexed to support, and it's going to be the Senna. Talk to me about Senna, because there's a bit of a change in play style if this is indeed an AD carry Senna.
So you play a fasting Senna, which essentially means you play the support role. You don't take farm, definitely not past the limit of 30 before your item is finished. Obviously, if there's no one else around, you can pick up farm. If you need a bit of gold, you can, but you get reduced gold income past 30. And the main goal is that if you're not taking the CS, you get more souls. And you can put it in tandem with a lot of champions, actually. Initially, it was Tahm Kench, but you could do it with the Shen, because Shen obviously benefits from getting farm. He can bulk up, be tanky in the later stages. And I think they need to do that here, because Gangplank is a great counter into Shen. Obviously, that Taunt never really going to have too much effectiveness, because you obviously can just cleanse it with the orange, and then you just outrange him and deal with them pretty handily. If Shen ever tries to ult somewhere else on the map, Gangplank has the global pressure to match that. So I'm expecting this to be a Senna Shen bot lane, but they can flex it if they feel like they want to sacrifice top lane for Styley and pick something better on the bot lane. I've seen the Tahm Kench Senna, I've seen Karma Senna, I've seen Morgana Senna, I've seen Rumble Senna. It's basically anything that makes use of the gold and can sort of hold its own in bot lane, but you don't even have to be a ranged champion, because Senna gives a ton of healing and she can go toe-to-toe with the harass.
So it's going to be the Gangplank, which is similar style that we saw Vipers pick up yesterday, trying to deal with Styley. I don't actually think it worked massively. I don't actually think that was the crux of the composition that allowed Vipers to get the win, but it was something that was thrown down as a gauntlet towards Styley, not a native top lane player. So people who are those native top lane players like Coincidence maybe trying to sort of stamp their authority in that lane. But like I said, Styley is not a bad player. He's a very good player, just obviously coming into an off role, which he has been trying to secure a lot of solo queue games in recently, but it is still a lot of sort of catching up to do, which is why he went for a more comfortable pick like Zach, I feel, in the top lane yesterday, and maybe why you saw Dusty ban it away this time round.
Yeah, when you start going towards the second phase of ban, so you saw a ban away from that Gragas, you saw a combo they could look to utilize, especially as the Gragas adds AP damage. It's not too concerning about picking up a physical damage mid laner. Dusty are banning away the things you can put in tandem with the Senna. And that sort of, it keeps things interesting. Will Styley run with the Shen top into a not so favorable matchup, or will they put it down in the bot lane, give the Shen a bit of extra gold so he's relevant? The Thresh ban coming out is a bit of an interesting one to me, because that would suggest that maybe they think that the Senna could go raw AD carry.
Yeah.
I haven't really seen a Thresh take too much farm. I guess in theory it still could happen, but he's not really the best champion to utilize that extra gold income. Interesting to see what Hillerød come out with. I feel like they can either blind a mid here. They've obviously banned away the LeBlanc, which is a pretty popular blind, but they're just going to go with the Diana. Sloth, typically at the start of the split, was heavily leaning on these melee mid laners. It goes very well with the Sejuani to set up the passive, and that means Legions, with the LeBlanc off the table, there's not that many safe picks you can take in the mid lane that aren't vulnerable to a melee champion diving out. LeBlanc obviously is really hard to threaten. She's great into matchups like Aurelia. But that isn't going to be a possibility here. Now, we do see the Rakan come in for Dusty.
And it's going to be the Aatrox potentially in the mid lane, which would make a little bit of sense into the Diana. Karma also being thought of. Karma would work too for Legions, I feel. Very safe mid laner into the Diana.
Just depends what they want after. This is a much easier to play composition so far from Dusty. Obviously, sometimes they go for very 1-3-1 focused compositions, which involve a lot of spread. But here, they have gone for something that is very much front to back, strong team fight, great engage potential. I particularly like Rakan Gragas as a combo.
Yeah.
Because Rakan gets the knock up, and it sets up for an easy cast to knock them into your team if needs be.
Good scaling as well for Dusty.
Yeah, and the Cassiopeia, great against melee champions. The Miasma, very threatening against Diana. Maybe a little bit tricky at times in this lane matchup, but ultimately should be okay. Now over to Hillerød. Looks like they're leaning towards the Taric Senate in the bot lane. So the Shen will be going top. Not the best matchup for Styly, but they're happy to sort of take that one.
Do they have enough damage? Like that's my. I know Diana is a lot of damage, but do they have enough damage in this composition? It really feels like they've got a great front line, 3 big frontliners, but I maybe feel like they're just lacking a damage ever so slightly.
I feel like their team fight is very much going to play around short burst windows.
Yeah, short burst.
So you need to play around the engage from Diana, the ultimate, the Cosmic Radiance from the Taric, and you need to have won the fight by the time Cosmic Radiance runs out. If it goes into an extended fight against Dusty, if you're unable to find backline access, challenge Hoys on the Varus, Legions on the Cassiopeia, you lose.
I'm very worried though, because look at the peel that Dusty have got. You've got your Cassiopeia ultimate, the Miasma to an extent. You've got the Varus ultimate, the quickness, the knock-up, the Gragas ult, the GP ult. There is so much self-peel and team-wide peel that you can apply, even in an AoE area, that I actually think that it might be difficult to make this work, unless they find good vision advantage and flanks.
And I think flanks is a critical thing.
Yeah.
I think if you come at them from multiple angles, Petrifying Gaze, Miasma, limited effectiveness in that regard, and then the Chains of Corruption as well. If you suddenly have a Diana with the maybe even a Shen ulted on top and the Taric stun available, diving your backline from a flank where you didn't expect to see the Diana, that will just end the game. That will just end the fight and turn it in their favor, but it all sort of depends on how things go.
I'm just pointing at the screen. That's a teleport Taric.
It's not a big deal.
Is it not a big deal?
Not with the Senna, because you're the one taking the farm.
Okay, so we are going to see, it's basically he's telling you that we're definitely seeing a fasting Senna off the back of a teleport Taric.
100%.
Okay.
But I feel like when I saw the Thresh ban, I was a little bit curious.
Yeah.
It suggested they may run 80 carry Senna. 80 carry Senna at the moment is really bad.
Yeah, trust me, I played it. It's terrible.
The soul rate percentage is at about 1 to 2%. Is what you get from each minion if you take the minion. So it's really low. If you are not taking the minion, it's 25% chance of a soul.
Yeah.
And then on a cannon, it's 100%. So, and the thing is, it's not like you're losing that gold. You're putting it on another champion, and so Taric isn't as gold. It doesn't utilize it as well as a Senna does.
But you can still get tanky.
But the way I always talk about it is, let's say a CS is worth 1 value for Senna, and it's worth 0.8 to Taric, but you add the soul on, and then it amasses to, say, 1.2, or just more than the Senna taking the gold because of the distribution around the team. And the typical thing is you see the Doran's Ring come out from the Taric in this situation, but if extra damage on the minions, with that, obviously, you get 5 physical damage on minions, so easy to CS, and also that mana regeneration just to hold his own. This is a very sustain-heavy bot lane between the Taric and the Senna, and the thing is with the Varus and the Rakan, they're not really that strong in terms of challenging them. They're not a lane that's really going to punish them too hard. You can do well in trades, but I think beyond that, you're going to struggle a little bit.
Well, we are jumping into this first game. This means a lot for the standings. 3rd and 4th placed right now. The winner will secure that 3rd place going into the final few weeks of the Nordic Championship, and that means a lot for those top 4 spaces, because right now, you know, if Hillerød or Dusty can continue to win, it means that really the 4th spot is the only contested spot that will be available for the rest of the teams. And I think everyone will be at the top end of the table, very unlikely to give up those spaces at the 1st and 2nd side of things.
You see Styly giving a leash on the top side. Essentially, he's going to bear the brunt of this matchup. And actually, Quinstance, if you can fly over the top lane, so Quinstance, he walked out of the brush, he grouped up all the minions, and that means if you look at what's happening on your screen, the minions, the blue side minions were dying quicker. So Styly fortunately gets there in time, but essentially what you can do by this is you can get it to push into you, and you can deny a minion from the other person, and that delays level 2. In this situation, Quinstance just ends up pushing, because he wants to establish control, but it's something you very typically see in bot lane. If a bot lane leashes, they grab the minions in front, group them together, and then they all focus one minion on your side, and it can end up denying it, and that can be really punishing when it comes to hitting level 2, because you essentially have to kill another minion to do that.
How many souls would be like a really good game for Senna in the early game here when you're playing fasting Senna? How many souls would be the sort of the best case scenario? Well, we have a big engage here. There's going to be a stun coming through immediately. Only 35 looking for it, burns the flash, but Ermin will be just fine. Good flash there coming out from him.
I'll be honest, I don't have exact numbers for the Senna souls, but a lot more than she was even getting as AD carry pre-nerf.
Sure.
So I remember we had a game where Crispy played the Senna. It went to about 40 minutes. He had about 120 souls. It was close to a 50-minute game, and he was getting like 120 to around that sort of area souls. I have seen Senna's hit that by 30 minutes.
Okay.
So a lot more, just far more. And that is why this has come into play, because it's so powerful. And oh, wow, look at this. What a shock. Legion's freezing in front of his tower.
Such a classic Legion's move.
This is where he wants the wave to be, always.
Really good versus a melee mid laner as well, just to try and punish them and put them in awkward positions, because you do have to step up. You do have to make risks and take risks going in to farm that minion wave. It's something that Legion just does so well.
Absolutely. Wave control is a big thing for him, and always seems like he finds the advantages there in where it's positioned. Right now, Flipper going for this Scuttle Crab. He should be able to get this and get out, but Dusty's bot lane potentially looking to contest, but with Joker on the other side of the map, not really too much of a possibility of that.
Right now,
the Legions.
He's sat on top side. He's
leaning towards his jungler. He knows that because the wave's built up, he has to shove it in, and he denies Sloth the opportunity of freezing it himself. He forces it into tower. So again, now it's going to bounce back. He can potentially look to freeze it again later. And because he's chunked Sloth out, he feels confident just to harass him a little bit under the tower. Joachim does find Flipper, but isn't really too afraid of him.
Yeah, there's a Sloth nearby as well. The wave in a good position for him. Actually going to dive in onto Joachim. The teleport coming through right now as well onto Styly. They are trying to put pressure on. Cut off the escape route for Joachim right now. I think Styly's just going to sit there, and actually this is going to be an awkward little 1-2. Joachim is much healthier, and Flipper can't really take that fight.
The problem with that play is that they didn't have priority in the lanes. So you could see what the plan was, but mid and top were getting shoved in. So Sloth didn't want to leave. He wants to catch the farm. Styly doesn't want to leave. He wants to catch the farm, because if you look, he's already 15 CS down almost.
Yeah.
So they made the attempt to shut down Joachim's invade, but then they quickly realized, as soon as he started to buy a little time, that this wasn't going to be worth it. And even with that, you still have a CS discrepancy top lane. You still have a slight CS discrepancy mid. It hasn't been a good start for the solo laners of Hillerød.
No, you do have to remember that, they are going in here. Only 35 immediately has to bounce back. I think Mox just picked up a free little soul there as well, so he'll be happy about that situation.
One of the big things with the Rakan, though, when the route from the center starts, it ramps up and obviously comes in after a small delay. Before that, obviously, you can dash away, so you're not going to get hit by the stun. And there isn't really anything in this lane that can chase a chase a Rakan with his mobility. With Legions, he has priority mid. He's come down for a roam. When they move up, so what could have happened if they pushed the melee minions and stepped up to the ranged ones? That would have been an opportunity to punish, but they throw a ward down. They were playing concerned, and they managed to survive the pressure, but Styly's not having fun in this lane matchup.
Oh, only 35 again, getting caught out here by Ermin, who teleported back to lane. It is a really, really rough matchup, though, for Styly. That is not a fun matchup if you're playing as a Shen.
It was the OG counter matchup, was picking Gangplank in a Shen, and it's paying out pretty well here. And bot lane, I feel like it's definitely favored towards Hillerød. We saw a great game from Dusty's bot lane yesterday on the Ziggs Thresh. Hoyes is potentially caught out here. Good heal to dodge away.
Good to dodge away. They're going to get it back onto Ermin, who's already burnt his flash in the first blood. Just goes down there. Lovely little outplay from Hoyes, knowing that Ermin did not have that escape potential.
And beautiful for only 35. To get the double knock-up in that situation, it's very hard to win trades in the long term against Tarek Senna because of all the healing available to them. But in this situation, you set up a gank, you turn it around and punish them, finding the double knock-up, you get a kill onto the Tarek, and critically, he's the one who wants to be taking the farm. So yes, Senna will take the CS in this situation. You can see the number ticking up on your screen, but this isn't the ultimate efficiency because yes, you're getting the gold onto someone, but you're missing out on the souls in this situation.
Tarek really hasn't picked up that much farm either right now.
I mean, playing a melee champion
into a double range matchup is definitely difficult. I understand that 100%.
Which is why you've seen shifts away from playing. Like Tom Kench can do it well because obviously he has a moderate range. He can also use his abilities to farm a bit. But that's why you would see instances of champions like the Karma or the Morgana to go in tandem with the Senna because they don't struggle with CSing. But I think this Tarek pick was very much compositionally. They wanted it for their divers to get on the backline. But yeah, I can see you grimacing looking at that. It's not a fun matchup.
The Sheen just makes it that much worse as well for Style. He doesn't have his teleport available. Has got his ult, so he can affect the map if he wants to. But like we said, this is not a matchup that Style is supposed to win. If he goes through without giving away any kills or getting a massive CS discrepancy, then he's probably done a pretty good job.
I mean, the critical thing is what he can do with his ults.
Yeah.
Shen, now level 6, you have that ult available. If a play happens on the rest of the map and Styley ults to it, makes a big impact and facilitates his team, then it's worth it for taking the Shen pick.
They'll get the first Drake of the game. Vision control just not set up, and Gragas not in the right position here for Flipper to just get that for free. And obviously with the wave being shoved in, Legions didn't have the time to respond either. So a nice little early pickup here for Hillerød. The gold discrepancy actually opening up, but we kind of expect that because of the CS discrepancies across both bot and top right now. That's probably why you're seeing the major gold advantage opening up. And like you said, one of the most important things.
Ult comes in.
That's an ult up top lane. Styley survives. Teleport does come through from Sloth. So no real threat there. Sloth was ready to defend it.
But I like the play from Dusty. They don't invest too much there. Oh, actually, Sloth's walking back.
He's walking straight into a trap. Joachim lands it. Nice little dive over to dodge the ultimate, but now he's 1v1 versus Legions. Can he go for it? Can he go for it? Just a couple more basic attacks. That's a big Shen ultimate. Flash across the wall and the taunt from Styley. He picks up the kill. The coach and rank 1 jungle player getting that kill on top lane.
But I don't think he wins.
No, he's trying to bait out for Flipper. He's baiting out for Flipper. That's a lot of percentage damage coming through. Joachim will be forced to flash. Sloth now as well. We'll go down to coincidence, but the ult will pick up for Flipper too. So I think Styley got the best out of that situation there.
Ultimately though, that's a 2 for 2. You burn the Shen ult.
Still worth for Dusty. Still worth for Dusty, I would say.
The fact you burn the Shen ult on that situation, nothing drastically changes for Hillerød, despite the fact they're behind. It's definitely not a good sort of scenario. Dusty's still looking in favor. And I feel like this is one of the situations where you use the Shen ult reactively. The ideal situation for a team when they have a Shen is they make proactive plays with the ult. You potentially transition a pick into an objective. Because that was a defensive play, all they did was trade kills, and not much else was picked up from Hillerød. They're still in a similar position. Top lane, 35 CS down. Mid lane is roughly even. Legion's a little bit ahead by 10 CS, but ultimately he scales extremely well, and he's gotten through the laner phase against an aggressive melee champion with the Sejuani, who can obviously synergize. And bot lane, still building up a huge CS lead. And obviously, that will be mitigated to a degree by the souls from Senna. But Hoyes is farming pretty consistently in this situation, which does make things a bit precarious.
For those of you that haven't seen this before, by the way, when did Senna actually start to farm?
So it's really flexible. You can't go past 30 CS before your item is fully upgraded. And by fully upgraded, it means you've earned 1,000 gold from that item passive. And then when you go back to base, you restock the 4 wards. That is the full upgrade when you are no longer penalized for going over 30 CS. So she won't go over 30 before that. But after that point, she doesn't farm super hard because she still wants the souls.
Yeah.
So if there's a situation where she's mid, Sloth's mid as well, Sloth should get the farm.
Okay.
But if there's a situation where it's between her and Ermin, she may take some of the farm. She may take a few waves. She may want to work towards an item spike, which is more valuable than the souls missed. It's pretty dependent on the situation and also how well the champion scales with gold.
Flipper gets out here. I was a little bit worried for him, but he dodges away from that Sejuani ultimate, doesn't get slowed down.
Big tools invested, now down, but we do see a pause come in.
Quick pause coming through. We'll get an update on what that is. Jungle is DC'd, so that was Hillerød that you probably see. Flipper somehow managed to get out there even despite DCing.
That was Dusty.
Oh, sorry.
Who said and I quote, jungle boom.
Jungle boom. Oh, Legion's literally said jungle boom, so there you go. Sloth just said, did that barrel make him DC?
Rage quite after it missed. But for now, I'd say the state of the game, a little bit favored towards Dusty. I feel like they have a lot of strong scaling elements in their composition, especially when you have Hoyes on a 2-item spike. He's going to be really formidable. Legions and Quinstons will just scale endlessly in this game. And the big thing is, I feel like for Hillerød, you're playing around the Channel. I feel like you want to be making plays that grant you advantages from that. So far, we haven't seen it. We saw a neutralizing Shen play, which I'm not criticizing. I'm not saying he shouldn't have ulted there, because it would have been a bad situation to be put in, to be down in kills and to have Sloth picked essentially for free. But ultimately, it didn't give them any big advantages. It just mitigated a play from Dusty. What I want to see is next time the Channel ult comes up, which is pretty soon, I want to see potentially a proactive dive towards bot lane.
Okay.
Look to threaten Hoyes. Look to potentially put pressure on him. If you dive with the Sejuani, who's super tanky, you have the Cosmic Radiance, which gives him vulnerability, the Channel too, you should absolutely be able to crush that.
So we're about to jump back into game, by the way, guys, ladies and gentlemen. I want to know, Dan, if we're in this stage of the game, we obviously got incredible scaling potential on the side of Dusty. Can Hillerød even contend if we go that far? Does Hillerød have a composition that can deal with the scaling that Dusty's bringing to the table?
Well, the two aspects in this one is the Senna and the Taric. Senna and Taric scale incredibly well. Senna keeps gaining range, keeps gaining more attack damage, even past the item thresholds. I will hold this for a second because Dusty on contesting this Herald.
Minions here, teleport coming through. They're going to get a land onto only 35. There's a nice big Sen ultimate coming through too. That is now the Taric ultimate jumping down. Sloth also trying to find his way into this fight. This might be the quickness coming through though. Only 35, just threatening. But I think what's happened here for Dusty is they say, don't throw your life away for this Herald. We're probably going to lose that fight. Let's just back off. Gangplank down bot as well, so.
Yeah, respecting the pressure. They didn't want to TP Quinstance in. They used the ult, they threatened. But the big thing is they burnt the Cosmic Radiance. That is an extremely long cooldown at level 1. He does have some CDR coming in from that Fiendish Codex. But even with that, it's a just over 2-minute cooldown.
It's pretty big for an ultimate.
It's a long one to be unavailable, and it's a massive amount off the Taric's power budget. So to burn that, lose no members, I think Dusty can take that sort of situation. What comes down to it is how effectively Hillerød can use that Herald to find advantages. And
I'd love to see how many souls Senna's got now, by the way. I'd love if we could just dive over to Senna and have a look. She's
42.
got 42, so that's not too bad at this stage in the game.
Yeah, that's okay. I think that's sort of like a reasonable amount. I've seen higher, but definitely not too shabby. Gives you 650 attack range, which is pretty strong, and then obviously the extra attack damage at 30% crit chance as well on the back of that. And he's picked up the Umbral Glaive, I believe.
Yeah, the Umbral Glaive, that is indeed.
So able to control a lot of vision with that. Obviously kills wards extremely quickly. Three ward damage essentially. And the lethality synchronized as well with the AD and crit that's given to Senna essentially for free. But yeah, going back to your initial point, Senna and Taric will scale very well. But in a front-to-back situation where you have a backline DPS of Varus and Cass, I can't finish my point.
You can't finish your point because Flipper dies, and that's going to be a free Inferno now gifted over. Good vision control from
General
Dusty
as well. And this is pretty disastrous for Dusty. Styly ulted there to try and save Cassiopeia, goes down anyway. Now is where things get really concerning.
He didn't even get the first plate on the top lane tower. He was so close, one basic attack away, and didn't actually even pick up the plate. That's another feels bad, man. 2-level advantage for Quinstance as well, who's now got a 60 CS advantage in that top lane.
It's feeling a bit rough. The goal discrepancy is massive. Yes, there are scaling elements in the Taric Senna, but I don't think they make up for the rest of the composition. In the later stages of the game, you have to find the most insane dives onto this backline from this Diana, or you will just lose. And I think that's the big thing. And they have a lot of peel. Everyone on Dusty has a tool that's going to help peel away to an extent. There are still avenues. If there is a misplay from Dusty, you can find your way back in, but right now things are not looking good.
Okay, so talk to me about a draft then. What was the idea for Hillerød's draft? Like where were you planning on winning?
I feel like
what was your win condition?
I feel like mid-jungle potentially could be the threat point. Are you trying to establish pressure there? we've seen this before. We saw Nordic do that early in the split against Dusty, pick the Jarvan Diana against Legions on Victor and try punish him. Didn't work. I think Legions, as far as Dusty goes, feels like they're rock. He is very hard to punish in the mid lane. And I feel like that being the win condition makes things difficult because top lane, Shen is going to win lane. He's assisting the team with his ultimate. Bot lane is a scaling lane that has a lot of sustain, so they're hard to shove out, but they're not going to beat a Varus Rakan. And I feel like it was very reliant on Sloth having a pop-up performance, and it was just hard to do against Legions.
I love the way that only 35 wrapped all the way around that red side jungle, now coming to threaten Styley. Gets the knock up, in comes Joachim, teleport here, good. Taunt, but it won't be enough. The teleport will save the tower, but that's it.
And the Taric turns up, and he's level 8, super weak right now. Legions are looking.
That was beautiful from Sloth, by the way. Little 1-2 step, dodges the ultimate from Cassiopeia, and he'll pick the shutdown as well. That was nice.
Nice to finally see some of that aggression from Hillerød. They catch out Legions in the side lane, not where he wants to be on the Cassiopeia. But if you look at what's happening across the map, it's not really an even trade. They're looking for Mokox now.
Going to be only 35 with the quickness running through. Mokox will back off. Taric is here. It was a good attempt, but they didn't quite make it work. And in the meantime, if you look at Coincidence, he's on that tier 2 turret. He may get about half HP down before he has to back off here.
Yeah, he doesn't finish this one out, and they're going to try and get another tower here in the bot lane.
This is good from Hillerød. This is what they wanted, but Joachim only 35.
At what cost?
Yeah, but Sloth is very, very dangerous, I'd say, at this point in time. They do have to be careful. Joachim jumps straight on. Sloth gets knocked back. He's going to be essentially left to the wolves by Flipper, and Hoyes will pick up the kill. However, the big rotation that came through, that may end up giving away mid lane turret.
A lot of trading back and forth between these two teams, and getting mid tower here gives Hillerød a pretty big objective favor. They're still down in gold. So that's kind of expected from the farm numbers, but they managed to pick up a lot of towers.
Only 35 gets the knock up. Ermin has got absolutely no mana left. He flashes across the wall as they go on to Mokox. Mokox will back off. Flipper is here too. Actually, they do get out of that situation, so that's a good result as the taunt tries to come through onto Coincidence, who he'll just walk away. I mean, Styley can do nothing here.
Yeah, you just do very little damage to really punish this gangplank. If you do taunt him, you can just use the oranges to dodge out your only CC. And now they have control of this topside jungle. They have vision there already. Legions did get taken down, but he's able to come in here and just pick this tower up, equalize to a degree. And the gold is still heavily in favors of Dusty.
Oh, they're trying to defend this mid lane tier 1 with everything they've got. Plenty of dive potential sitting here. But the heals come through. There is the kind of the double heal. Taric's heal is often very sort of low. People don't really consider it a particularly big heal, but then combine that with the Senna, you've actually got quite a decent amount of sustain in that lane.
I think especially as he's gone to Themes now,
yeah.
he is itemized for that extra support status, which I guess with the front line they have, so typically Tom Kench builds pretty bulky items when he goes in the sort of fasting Senna lane, he's getting the extra gold income. But here we're seeing a scenario where Hillerød already have a massive front line. I don't think they need another tank.
They don't.
The extra gold being put on Taric to make his support stats, his shielding, his healing more effective. I don't think that's a bad trade-off, especially when he's building a lot of CDR, which critically means that ult is more frequently available, because I feel like that is something that Hillerød need to play around if they're going to find success. Because right now we're looking at solo laners at level 13, 2 items for Coincidence, 1.5 for Legions with a fully stacked Seraphs. We've got the Blade of the Ruin King plus some extras for Hoyes. They're in a comfortable position, and they're looking to challenge for this dragon. So it needs to be a big Cosmic Radiance. Hillerød, I don't think they win this one.
He's just trying to bait around this this dragon area, but it doesn't look like Dusty are falling for it. Dusty just want that mid lane tier 1. They say, well, fine, go for dragon. Mid lane tier 1 is much more important for us opening up the game, and Hillerød just say, okay, fine, we need to defend that.
And the critical thing as well as a mid priority is obviously something you want to have control over. It looks like now Dusty have said, fine, take dragon, we're not too bothered about it. We're confident in our scaling. We'll just take the Herald. And I think this is the right call for them. Hillerød are still 2 dragons away from Soul. It's not too concerning. It is a Cloud Soul as well, which I do think gives a lot of strength to their composition. The movement speed good for engaging, but it's not like a raw bundle of stats like the Infernal Soul is, with the extra damage added on. So they're happy to trade that one away. They pick up the Herald. They can potentially use this Herald mid to get that tower. And that's a critical objective for Snowball in the game. It allows you to push the mid wave deeper, which is an important one to have priority in for rotating to the rest of the map, and allows you to move up your vision. Because right now, if you look at the vision split on the map, it's very split between top and bot. If you look top, there's so much control on the mini-map from Dusty. you can see countless control wards, thank you very much, Observer, in this side of the jungle, despite it being Hillerød's side of the map. And on the other side, Hillerød have invested a ton of vision to the bot side of the map. So very split in that regard. And this does favor Dusty right now.
I think so for sure, especially because the tier 2 top is down too.
And because the Baron just spawned.
Yeah.
Baron just spawned, there's no Dragon up for quite a while. So you can see Hillerød making the moves to contest some of this vision on the top side. But it's dangerous to be walking in when you could turn up and there will be a Cassiopeia there with a Petrifying Gaze. You can see Joachim potentially waiting to contest Flipper on this vision.
Flipper's going to try and back off. Only 35, was sitting around looking for a potential knock-up, but it'll just be a bit of damage coming out from the barrel at this point in time. Styly has made his way down. Sloth is there with the teleport ready to go. Still, close affair. I mean, the goal difference says everything. It's 7k, and you really wouldn't expect it given the way this game has gone, but this has mostly come from CS advantages opening up in the top lane, as well as a turret advantage being taken overall. In fact, there isn't even a turret advantage. It's 3 for 3. This has purely come through CS and 3 kills, which is insane. It's a pure, like, 7k CS gold advantage.
Mid tower now going down means they can extend that control. They're leaning towards the bot side to cover Quinstance and allow him to shove up and threaten. But this does mean Hillerød are going to be able to path towards the top side where that Baron is. But Dusty are looking potentially for an engage here.
Oh, Flipper's going to have to go in. Cosmic Radiance is there. He said they have to make a big use of that, and Flipper does to dodge a lot of damage with that Cosmic Radiance. Nice center ultimate will buy a bit of time, but I really don't feel like right now Hillerød are on top of this fight. Sloth being battered away by Legions. Legions with the Archangel should be able to take him down, and honestly, these team fights are a mess for Hillerød. The damage just isn't there. No one is threatening enough, and Hillerød will walk away with only one member remaining.
I think you can look at the HP bars of Hoys and Legions right now, and I think that tells the story. This backline was not threatened in this fight. The Taric ult, it was thrown down defensively, and then there was a great task from Joachim to split everyone up so they couldn't make effective use of it. Dusty were massively ahead in gold, but they played that team fight better. They've now picked up the Baron, and you can see the differences. I mean, look at top lane.
Yeah, there is a... I did say it was a CS, primarily CS-based advantage. Obviously, there was some plates that went to Gangplank, but Gangplank has around a 6,000 gold lead over Styly right now. This was what I think yesterday we expected. Who were they playing? Who were Hillerød playing yesterday? I know my brain's just it's Vipers. They were playing Vipers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is what we think Vipers were trying to achieve, with Lokadoon picking picking the Gangplank into the Zac.
But I think the problem was that the Zac and the Gangplank was actually okay out of the laning phase.
Yeah.
Shen into Gangplank is not a good matchup.
At any point.
No, not at all. And Quinstance is not someone you want to give a good matchup to.
Oh, Mockcock's caught up there. He's going to go down. That's an easy pickup. I think this is basically done right now for Hillerød. I think Dusty have just got this in the bag.
I think it will partially be because of the objective gold, but something we didn't get a chance to talk about. If you could see the gold figures again, look at the difference between the supports. Rakan has more gold than the Taric, who's been farming.
And he has almost as much gold as the Senna as well.
I mean, the Senna gets the souls, so that's
of course.
unfairness. But like, the fact that Taric's been farming and he's got less gold than Rakan shows the state of this game. And obviously, Dusty will have got objective gold in the Baron, but now they're looking for Quinstance.
Quinstance will take a lot of damage here. He will eventually go down. Or you think he will? Yeah, the shutdown does come through, but Legion's moving through. That is going to be the ultimate from Taric. Again, defensive, not proactive. And it's not going to allow them to be able to contest around these inhibitor turrets that have been falling in the mid lane. It's not looking good for Hillerød. Like you said, though, you can't really put a price on the souls. It means a lot more to Senna, so obviously you can't really sort of judge that gold difference.
Speaking of which, we can take a look at how many souls the Senna is on.
Yeah, it would 81. So not exactly ridiculous, but it is quite a good amount of souls for her to work with right now.
Yeah, it sort of matched that pace we saw, because it was about 12 minutes at 40, just over 40. A little bit slower than that pace, but obviously being on the back foot, you haven't been able to contest as many waves, you haven't been able to trade as much and get those souls from champions. Ultimately, though, it feels too little too late. Discrepancies are coming in. We can look at the items that have been picked up. 3 items now for Quinstance. He's got a stopwatch as well. Stopwatch for Legions and Hoys. On top of their 2 items, we have Ceres, Leandries, Blather and King Ginsu's. Dusty are extremely strong right now, and I feel like it's just a matter of time for Hillerød.
Yeah, I think once the last team fight kind of told me the story that I needed to know. When you're Diana loses outright trying to 1v1 the Cassiopeia, even though Cassiopeia does have, you know, a way to deal with the Diana, then you just know that you're not going to get much done in these team fights, because a lot of the damage is coming purely from Diana's ability to blow someone up, and she's just not doing that right now.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Going to get a gank onto Quinstance here. The ultimate comes through. Sloth should pick this up, though. Nice little 1-2 stun. But they're losing bot lane tier 2. They may even end up losing bot lane, and the inhibitor turret going to be forcing the backs now out of the Hillerød lineup.
Yeah, so if they reset here, though, they have a numbers advantage, but critically, that Cosmic Radiance we saw used defensively earlier, still not available. And this is a long cooldown ultimate, and it's one Hillerød need to play around, so they get a pick, they buy some time, but ultimately it doesn't really amount to anything. Baron does time out, however, and as much as their mid lane inhibitor tower went down, their top lane inhibitor tower's gone, it's not awful. The state of their base isn't awful. The state of the game definitely is.
The state of the game is definitely in a rough spot. We are a 10k gold disadvantage. You would always consider that incredibly significant when it comes to 25 minutes into the game, and this is one of those GG go next level gold leads. However, remember, there is unseen gold, as you said. There is unseen gold on Senna's souls, so it's very difficult to really assess what 80 souls are worth.
So you see this 10k gold lead.
Yeah.
Think of it as, say, 7k gold.
7k gold. It's still a lot of gold, basically.
It's still very rough.
Yeah.
Even taking the fast and slow into account, Hillerød definitely behind in this situation. The level discrepancy, a big thing as well. Styly's actually caught up because Quinstance was 16 and Styly was 12, so he's had a chance to catch up, which is nice. But you see 2 levels between the 80 carries.
I mean, Styly's only just finished his Sunfire Cape, so that's his first big defensive item finished. You know, I wouldn't really call Titanic Hydra a pure defensive item.
I don't think Titanic Hydra Rush is that great as well.
Yeah.
You normally get the Tiamat
to help you clear waves, and then
you itemize defensively. So maybe this is Styly not being as comfortable in the role as you would be saying the jungle. Either way, this is the state of the game right now. Massive lead. Baron spawning in 1:20, Dragon in 2:40, but that's not too significant because it won't be sold for either side. So Dusty is setting up control on this top side of the map towards the Baron. This is very deep vision they have pushed in. Hillerød scared to leave their base, and they're kind of just waiting for Quinstance to be in a position to crush the side lane. I say that, but they're just pressuring now. That tower is very low. And Legions is super scary. He now has the Rylai's as well as the items we saw him have before. So the extra slows, the extra zone control to utilize against Hillerød. And they're not going to overcommit, but the effect here isn't necessarily to take this tower. It's to keep Hillerød trapped in their base. As long as they can't leave their base, they cannot contest his vision. And it means it's very difficult to contest the Baron because you're walking through this massive blind area, potentially into these huge control ults of Dusty. You have to take it slow to not get caught out, and as a result, Baron can be done by that time. You're against a Varus with Blade of the Rune King, Rage Blade, and a Cassiopeia. It'll be gone.
It's just going to go down instantly.
So I feel like Hillerød, before the Baron spawns, need to try and make it engage. Otherwise, they're going to be trying to walk through a massive amount of fog. And if we can actually look at the jungle, I think we can just sort of show how much space they have to sort of walk through. So they have that control ward there. They have to walk through so many brushes to get to this Baron, and each one could hold all of Dusty in, and that's what makes it difficult. So now we see Flipper, he's heading over, he gets the suspicion that the Baron's been started.
They've got one scrying orb, and they'll see that happening. Most of them have been spotted out, so they can probably run through the jungle, but I think it'll be gone by the time they even get there to contest.
Yeah, he's being precarious, but only he's there to sort of interrupt. He doesn't even use the quickness. He doesn't have to CC him when they get the Baron in. Fundamentally, that's the problem. Great control from Dusty, but Hillerød just not ever in a position to contest that one. And now, with the Baron coming in, gold lead at about 12,000, Dusty looking to end the game with this one. Yeah,
they've just they've hit some big item spikes as well. I mean, the control of Cassiopeia, which has got the Rylai's Liandry's, it's pretty disgusting as well. Really good at bursting through the front line or just sort of chunking through Flipper and Styly. You know, when you've got those big HP tanks, it's always nice to have that Rylai's and Liandry's combo. And she doesn't actually need the flat damage either because you've got loads of damage coming in from Quinstance right now. I mean, he is stacked to the absolute brim with damage. And obviously now QSS coming through for the Varus too. He's going to have some extra sort of protection. What I will say though, Sloth has picked up his Rabadon's Death Cap, so he has got a bit more burst potential available to him. So you'll have to be a little bit careful if you're Hoys. Still don't think it's enough though. I still think really Hillerød need a miracle to win in these team fights. I mean, it has to be the perfect storm of the Taric ultimate with the CC layered on top.
And I think a big thing is that everyone has their flashes on the side of Dusty. Obviously, they're available for Hillerød as well, but when you're the defensive team, in terms of how the team fights play out, when you have a great backline, you want them to have the summoners. Them having summoners is more valuable than everyone having no summoners. And so Legions and Poise, even harder to pin down. If you do ult them together, they can both flash in different directions. And I feel like if you don't take out both of them, they're going to win the team fight, especially when there's Quinstance as well. Legions was waiting for gold in the fountain for a bit, picks up that Void Staff. QSS now on Hoyes for a bit of safety. They pick up that Dragon.
Is Coincidence at 100% crit? I think he is, right?
No, he's at 70%.
70%, so he'd need another...
I don't think he'll get 100% crit, but they're seeing an engage now.
They dive in. That's actually a pretty good proactive Taric ultimate that stops a lot of damage rather. The knockout comes through. The chain CC is disgusting, and that is destruction. It looked good for Hillerød, but it's not good enough as the rest of Dusty push on in. Hoyes will get another kill here onto Mokox. Mokox can do nothing. This should just be game for Dusty.
So they're going to try and buy some time, but that is the team fight. Swiftly turn around. You can see the Cosmic Radiance buying time, and as soon as it expired, the turnaround in damage was insane. Quinston's joining the fight. Legion's free to fire off all that damage. And we expected it for a while, but Dusty, they make it decisive.
They get it, and it's, I think, really lost at draft almost for Hillerød. They really, I just didn't see a win condition for them there. I think especially with that top lane differential, nothing that Styly could do. He's not a top lane native, so he goes into Quinston, who we've always considered a really good 1v1 top laner.
And I didn't like the Shen. I feel like if you're gonna pick the Shen there,
go bot with it.
Put it bot.
Yeah.
Put it as a farming Shen in the fasting center lane. You don't want it into the gangplank. You should have anticipated this matchup could have come out.
But I think it's like you're looking at champion pools for the Styly feels comfortable.
That may be the concern.
I can't make any assumptions, though. I don't know what he's got in his
That
tank,
may have been the concern, is that they targeted the Ornn, the Zac, and maybe Hillerød were like, we need something for Styly that he's comfortable on. Ultimately, it didn't end up panning out. And I think too much of this composition was based around Sloth needs to be able to find advantages mid. Legion's picking the Cassiopeia was huge, and he did as Legion's does. This guy is a brick wall in the mid lane.
Yeah.
It feels like he's playing Ornn with how unkillable he is, but he's playing Cassiopeia, and he's doing well with it. He always has lane control.
That freeze that he puts on every single game.
Every single game.
Yeah, every single game.
We saw this earlier in the split when Nordic faced up against Legions, and he picked that Victor. And I will openly say, I doubted it. I was like, blind Victor, that's a little risky. Enemy team picks Jarvan and Diana. I'm like, this is going to be a rough one, but he's just unwavering. He can just withstand so much pressure. And I feel like when that was your one lane you could play around, it's not a great plan.
Dusty have been sneaking up the standings, and they find themselves at third now, just one win behind Vipers and Singularity, in a good spot going in to the top four for those playoffs as we come towards the latter half of the Nordic Championships. Now, after the break, we've got Team Singularity taking on Atlando. Can Atlando pull off a miracle? We'll see.